better way to explore London than by finding some amazing modern art right in the heart of the city. You enjoyed last week's video, Sculpture in the City 13th edition, so today we're going back in time to check out the sculptures of the 12th edition. Movement and the body lie at the centre of the Muamba Grove series, and the sculptures are strongly linked with choreography and transformation. The series continues De Silva's investigations of scale, colour, and interactions between the human body, sculpture, and nature. The artist identifies each of the sculptures as unrooted bodies, genderless, neither human nor part of nature, but as hybrids that are in a constant state of flux, metamorphosing into something still unknown. De Silva's process often involves carving sculptures concurrently and reacting intuitively to the forms as she works into the surfaces of the materials. This process offers an indication of the inseparable link between the body and the sculpture. The artist's own body becomes entwined within the making of the forms. De Silva's use of colour and carefully considered scale contributes to the sense of dynamic and fluid movement. Pacific Red 4, 2017, encapsulates the mesmerising metamorphosis and innovation that characterises Larry Bell's Pacific Red nesting box glass sculptures, which mark a turning point in the artist's extraordinary practice and were a celebrated highlight of the 2017 Whitney Biennial. Bell's nesting boxes are one of the most important examples of the artist's freestanding glass wall sculptures, a subset of Bell's practice which he began in 1968, in which the artist combines panes of glass in varying scales and configurations. These large, colourful outdoor works respond intuitively to the dynamics of space and are transformed by the particular conditions of natural light at different times of the day. Capturing the distinctive properties of the colour red, Pacific Red 4 exemplifies what Bell describes as its emotional input. Combining cubes made with red poppy and blush laminated glass sheets, the sculpture's luminous reds, transparency, and reflectiveness shift and morph in response to the sun, at times emitting an ethereal glow which transforms into a red-hot blaze at other moments. An extraordinary sculpture, Pacific Red 4 epitomises the unique magic of Bell's lyrical experimentation with glass. Isamu Noguchi's galvanised steel sculptures, Rain Mountain, Duo, and Neo-Lithic, all from 1982 to 83, expresses lifelong engagement with sculpture, the landscape, and the bodily sensorium. Drawing inspiration from ancient forms and modern technologies, as well as his own Japanese and American cultural inheritances, Noguchi sought to create works offering an experience of space and presence, stating, "I want sculpture equal to myself walking." Over the course of his long career, Noguchi experimented with paper, stone, wood, slate, ceramics and iron, choosing materials appropriate to the sculpture's environment. He associated metal and industrial fabrication with America, writing, "It seems to me absurd to be working with rocks and stones in New York, where walls of glass and steel are our horizon, and our landscape is that of boxes piled high in the air." Phyllida Barlow's sculpture, Untitled, Megaphone, 2014, towers 6 metres high and stands to the viewer as to announce a performance that is yet to begin. The sculpture resembles a tall megaphone. However, Barlow herself describes it as an approximation or substitution for the actual object. As part of its making, the sculpture has been hacked and reinvented into a new form. A closer inspection reveals the materials, its texture, the colours, and the absence of technical functionality have left it with very little in common to a functioning megaphone. It interests me what sculpture is. It's playing around with substitution, and where do those substitutions lead one, Barlow noted. By being at first suggestive to reality, while depriving a relation to the real object, sculpture acts as a trigger, stimulating the imagination of the viewer to create forms, to memories, and undiscovered fantasies. Pittu, 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 a large-scale rock sculpture made of fiberglass and a garden ornament, literalises the state of being on the periphery, or on the other side, as both a source of agitation and a means of perceiving the world. The architectural intervention, typical of Barclay's installations, is driven by this state of anxiety. The viewer is invited, or perhaps forced, to consider how objects can determine our experience in space. Pittu, Pittu, Pittu is about negotiating barriers, whether structural, psychological, or both. As a note, unfortunately, the garden ornament of a cockerel had been stolen by the time we filmed this. Untitled reflects the dynamic movement of people using the space and the mechanical stairs. Both designs energise the area under the stairs with an all-over composition that mimics the traffic and activity of this large urban space in the city. The two-part metal sculpture, titled "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised," which borrows its name from the Gil Scott-Heron song of the 1970s and the Black Panther slogan, depicts profiles of two abstracted figures facing one another, frozen in perpetual standoff. Their bent lines, which mimic the 2D aspect of a drawing, stand upright, creating this thin wall-like sculpture that echoes a city gate which one can walk around and through. When the artist made them right before the pandemic, he desired to create a public reminder of the constant oppression exerted on minorities and indigenous peoples, and yet a call for resistance against social injustices everywhere. Untitled is based on a collage which is made to contrast with the severity of the granite surroundings on Creechurch Lane, activating the facade with fragmented shapes and colour fields, including a Cézanne reference and dripping paint, creates a complex stage curtain on the flat surface of the building. This juxtaposition encourages a dialogue between architecture and the visual image that is open to a variety of readings. Unfortunately, Untitled ceiling projection wasn't showing in the month we filmed, but here's a small amount from online. In Untitled Ceiling Projection, 2018, a woman smashes colourful light bulbs. Filmed from beneath a clear table, the smashed bulbs become a kaleidoscope of colour. The title, as well as the placement above the viewer's head, allude to the idea of smashing the proverbial glass ceiling, while the Edison bulbs represent an antiquated invention, once a scientific breakthrough, but that is now becoming obsolete as more energy-efficient options become available. Well, I hope you found that interesting. Let me know your favourite sculpture in the comments below. You can also let me know if you'd like to see the sculptures of the 11th edition. Or if you want to see my other Sculpture in the City videos, you can watch them here. Thanks for watching and have a great day.